Think you can reset that pesky tire pressure light with no tools in under a minute? Many drivers swear by a quick air-down trick. But what if I told you it fails on a lot of vehicles? In the next few minutes, we're going to reveal why it works for some, why it's a complete waste of time for others, and the one simple tool that might save you hours of frustration. If you've ever stood in your driveway letting air out and wondering what went wrong, this is the video you need to see. If you could fix a dashboard warning in 60 seconds, would you try it? That's the pitch behind one of the most talked about TPMS tricks online. No expensive tool, no trip to the shop. Just you, your tires, and a minute of your time. The claim is simple. If you let enough air out of each tire in a certain order, your car will learn the sensors again and your tire light will disappear. Sounds almost too good to be true, right? Here's how it works, according to those who swear by it. You put the ignition key in the on position without starting the engine. On certain vehicles, you hit the hazard light button a few times, or in other cases, you turn the lights on and off to trigger what's called learn mode. A confirmation sound, usually a single horn chirp, tells you the car is ready. Then you move to the front left tire, press the valve to let air out until you hear another chirp. Then move to the front right, then the rear right, and finally the rear left. After the last tire, the system stores the new sensor positions. You air them back up, and the light should shut off. Plenty of drivers say it works flawlessly and takes barely longer than checking pressures. Others say they've tried it down to the letter, and the lights stayed on no matter what. And that's where the mystery starts. For do-it-yourselfers, the appeal is obvious. If you rotate your own tires, put on winter wheels, or swap rims on a weekend project, being able to reset the TPMS in your driveway means you avoid a service charge that can range from about $20 to $50 per visit. Plus, it feels empowering to beat the system using only the instructions you found online. But there's a catch that sinks this method for a lot of people. You need a vehicle designed for it in the first place. Many cars never had a manual learn mode at all. Others only allow you a short time to perform the sequence before the system times out, and starting over can be a hassle. There's also the problem of hardware differences. TPMS sensors don't all operate at the same frequency. If your vehicle expects 433 MHz sensors and you have aftermarket 315 MHz ones, you can sit there letting air out all afternoon and it still won't hear them. Some newer designs don't even recognize a sensor until an activation signal is sent, something that can't be done by just deflating a tire. On the vehicles that do allow it, the trick can work surprisingly well. Some older Ford trucks and sedans, early 2000s GM cars, and certain SUVs from that era use a programming style that responds to pressure changes as a registration signal. On these, watching the system acknowledge each tire as you go around feels like a small victory. Yet even then, success isn't guaranteed. A dead sensor battery will keep the receiver from picking up the ID, even in learn mode. And if you've replaced a single sensor with a part from a different brand or frequency, the car may simply ignore it. That means you can go through every step perfectly, hear all the horn beeps in order, and still see that light staring back at you on the dash. So what happens when you've followed the process, confirmed you did it right, but your car never even enters learn mode to begin with? That's when you start looking at the more reliable alternative that some manufacturers insist on using. Before we move on, I would like you to subscribe to the channel and like the video. What if your car's system refuses to even start the relearn process without special equipment? That's exactly the case for a lot of late-model vehicles, especially within the GM lineup. According to their own service documentation, certain models won't even look for new sensor IDs unless a signal is sent from a dedicated TPMS activation tool, like the EL50448. Without that signal, the car's computer ignores any pressure changes you try to use as a trigger. This flies in the face of the no-tool hype. It's easy to see why drivers resist buying anything extra. They've watched videos promising a free driveway fix and believe they can get the same result without spending a dime. The issue is that newer systems aren't just being picky. They're programmed this way to keep tire pressure readings accurate and avoid false positives. A random drop in pressure from a slow leak shouldn't trick the system into thinking a new sensor is being installed. That's why the activation tool sends a very specific radio pulse designed to wake the sensor and hand over its ID to the receiver. Take a 2018 Chevrolet Colorado as an example. Owners trying the air down sequence report, doing every step perfectly, ignition on, letting air out in the right order, waiting for a horn beep, and getting absolutely no response. The light stays on, the dash shows the same alert, and the truck acts as if nothing happened. The problem isn't user error. GM moved to a system that only begins the relearn procedure once it receives the activation pulse at each wheel. Without the tool, the process never starts, no matter how long you wait. Why? Part of it comes down to the sensors themselves. Modern TPMS sensors don't all talk on the same frequency. GM commonly uses 315 MHz or 433 MHz units, and the vehicle is expecting the correct band. If you've swapped in aftermarket wheels with different sensors, they might be the wrong frequency entirely. Even if they're the right type, the system won't acknowledge them until the activation signal is detected. It's a built-in layer of control that means no accidental programming and no false readings from background noise. A lot of people still think these tools are expensive or locked away in dealer service bays, but that's a myth. The EL50448 and compatible devices are widely available online for under $50. Once you have one, the process is straightforward. Turn the ignition to the correct position, follow the prompts for your vehicle, place the tool against the tire sidewall at the valve stem, press the button until the horn chirps, and repeat around the vehicle. Even on picky systems, the reset is complete in minutes. For anyone who swaps tires often, maybe switching between winter and summer sets, or rotating them more than usual, it's worth thinking about long-term convenience. One simple habit is labeling your tires before storing them so you mount them in the same positions. Another is cloning sensors, so each wheel is pre-programmed with the correct ID, making the reset quicker. And if you do this work at home regularly, keeping a relearn tool in your garage can save you from booking an appointment and paying a service fee every season. The bottom line is that some cars just won't play along with the quick fix method, no matter how carefully you try it. Understanding whether your system allows a manual reset or needs a tool means you avoid wasted time, skipped steps, and unnecessary frustration. And that knowledge can be the difference between an easy driveway solution and a half hour of trial and error that leads you right back to square one. There isn't a universal shortcut for clearing a tire pressure light. The process your car accepts comes down to how its TPMS is designed. Before you try any homegrown method, check your owner's manual or the official service procedure so you're not wasting time on something your system can't recognize. If your vehicle requires an activation signal, buying the right tool up front could save you hours of failed attempts. For many drivers, spending a modest amount once is far better than paying repeatedly for resets. In the end, knowing your car's exact requirements is what makes a reset quick and painless.